think your golf course was built soon after Coral Ridge. And it's interesting about Florida golf courses. When they were built back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they didn't pay much attention to the drainage. Basically, they didn't have much money. They built the golf courses and for probably $500,000, $600,000, and they built lakes, built greens, built tees, and had nothing to do with the fairways. What's interesting about your site is that Mark Mahana, who was sort of my father's generation of golf course architect, actually did move some dirt, and there is some good fill on the site, and he did attend to some of the drainage. So there is some earthwork done that will help the project in the future. I think Greg Muirhead and I look at this project as really a very important project in the game of golf, because you have the space to create a wonderful public golf course that will be enjoyed by the residents of Boca Raton as well as visitors to Florida. I think you have the opportunity, as you'll see on our plan, to design a wonderful practice facility, a short game area, a par 3 golf course, and really get people into the game of golf. I think public golf course is 8% of the golfers today, and I think a course like this is really going to help enhance and grow the game. If you watch the TV this weekend, we built Torrey Pines, completely redesigned it. They made me mayor for a day because they make 65,000 rounds a year, and they basically support the rest of their golf courses with that facility. We're also at the Bayou Oaks in New Orleans, which is another publicly owned golf course. We did Bethpage Black, and I think these public golf courses can be phenomenal revenue producers for the community, and that's what we would want to do. Well, our dream for your golf course would be to build something that your residents can enjoy, it could grow the game, the youth could enjoy it, and then it could be a great profit center for the city. Now, Greg is actually going to go through the process that we would go through during this project if selected.
Thank you again for having us here and the opportunity to speak with you and share our thoughts. I'm going to rip through this pretty quickly, try to honor our time commitment. This is kind of the general agenda of the points that I'm going to cover during the talk. Start with our team. Of course, our firm would function as the golf course architects and the lead consultant. Rob Renenbaum is here from Simmons and White. You've heard from Brian Idle and Peacock and Lewis. This is his last interview tonight, but he'll be back Thursday.
One more from
the Pignato Group will handle all of our irrigation needs for the golf course. Mike is actually in the Dominican this week and could not be here. And Kim Lee Horn will handle our landscape architecture and our environmental consulting. A little bit about our firm, founded in '74, so we're coming up on our 45th year. We do a lot of new design and redesign work throughout the U.S. As well as internationally. Over 225 completed projects. And that's actually with a philosophy that's been more of a lower volume workload and more of a hands-on approach. So over the years, we've accumulated quite a portfolio, but doing it in a way where we've always been able to maintain control of the process. Worked for a variety of clients, including local and state governments. Rees mentioned the Bayou Oaks project. This is a picture of it in New Orleans. Similar to your project, this involves the construction of a brand new golf course on the footprint of an old golf course, actually portions of 2 courses. And it was basically conceived to help reinvigorate the local community, St. Bernard's Parish, which was extremely damaged by Hurricane Katrina. We have a reputation for designing golf courses that are enjoyable and playable for the average person, but also can be set up in a way that they can challenge the game's best players. Example of East Lake Golf Club, where they have the PGA Tour event each year, the Tour Championship. Our designs are all environmentally responsible, and many of them have been certified by Audubon. We're also well known for our work in preparing courses for golf's major championships, US Opens, PGA Championships, Ryder Cups, as well as many of our courses have hosted LPGA and PGA tournaments. These are all courses that the other 51 weeks of the year are playable, enjoyable, viable facilities for the members of the public. But they've been designed and built with the flexibility to challenge the game's best players. little bit about Rees, as he said, he's a Florida resident. He's personally involved in everything that we do on all of our projects. He was given the nickname the Open Doctor, again, for all the work that we've done with the U.S. Open courses over the years. And he will also participate heavily in whatever promotional type events that you need our assistance with when you're trying to sell the project and then open the project and promote it. Myself, I've been with Rees for 35 years, been involved in a variety of different projects. Also been an active member of the ASGCA for a long time and served as president of both that organization and currently the foundation. And I will be personally coordinating the efforts of our team throughout the design and construction of this project. Simmons & White, again, Rob's company. I'm sure most of you are familiar with them. They're headquartered right here. They've done a lot of work in the area, full service engineering company. And Rob is going to be personally involved in our project, the president of the company. Brian, of course, you've heard already 2 times, so I'm going to skip over you a little bit. I'm sorry. But these are 3 projects in the Boca area that you may be familiar with that he's been involved with. And then also some relevant municipal projects that he's been involved with. So his breadth and experience in all different kinds of client bases is pretty extensive. Kimley Horn, again, I know you're familiar with them and the work they've done with the district and the city here. Jonathan is not here. I don't see him. So they'll be helping us with our landscape architecture and perhaps some environmental consulting. This is a sample list of some of the projects that we've done in Florida. We've covered pretty much both the coasts and the Panhandle and Orlando, and so we have experience working here and understand how it works here. Also some government-owned courses. We've had some experience. Rees mentioned the Bayou Oaks course in New Orleans. That was for the state of Louisiana. We just finished that and opened it in April. We have continuing ongoing consulting work. We're working at Bethpage right now for the state of New York. Torrey Pines, we're preparing plans for work in 18 and 19. City of San Diego. Just finished a project out in California for the city of Alameda. So we're actively engaged in both public and private projects. So talk a little bit about our vision for this, and we tried to develop a mission of what we thought some of the objectives should be for this golf course. First and foremost, it's got to be high quality, user-friendly, which means playable and enjoyable. And it's a facility that on a higher level should really be looked at as a community asset, like your parks are, like your museums are. It's something that creates a better quality of life for all the residents of Boca and the people who come and visit here. It could also serve as a model for other municipalities that are interested in developing high quality, affordable public access golf. It's a facility that definitely could attract tourists as well as out-of-town guests who live in Florida perhaps. Create the next generation of golfers and or invite people who are older but haven't played golf but are interested in playing golf. Your National Golf Foundation report had some information in there about a segment of the community that's here that's interested in golf but has never played. You should be able to capture some of that market. Keeping the senior players involved, the people who've been playing for 40 years and now maybe they're not as interested in a full 18-hole round. So how do we accommodate them and keep them active in the game? Programming for junior golf, very important. And provide, as Brian talked about, a clubhouse that not only serves the golf community, but the overall greater community as well. And again, on a bigger picture, how can we use this project to kind of reinvigorate that neighborhood and the community that's around the golf course? So we've defined this mission, and so then how do we create a facility that's going to help us get there? Basically, you've got to try to accommodate all these different groups of players, including the disabled golfers, or differently abled golfers, as we refer to them. Because in doing so is not challenging. Troy talked about it a little bit in his presentation. It's very easy to create a golf course with good planning that can accommodate a variety of differently abled golfers. But the key to this project is trying to give all these different demographics a facility that appeals to them and that they feel comfortable using. So how do we site plan your project in order to create that type of facility? Basically 2 thoughts. Either we refurbish the existing 27-hole layout that you have, or we develop kind of a new, what we call more inclusive, all-inclusive plan. We spent time evaluating the idea of considering, refurbishing the 27-hole plan, and we kind of backed off of that rather quickly, actually, because we felt like to do that is going to require all the land that's in the footprint of the golf course anyway. So that really gives you no opportunity to create any alternative course or alternative facilities that's going to serve that diverse demographic that you really need to make this project be successful. It also doesn't allow you to improve the practice area, which was talked about earlier today about how it's too short. No opportunity to create a short game practice area, which has become very popular today with users. And Brian talked about how everybody wants to do things in limited time now. People are practicing more. These short game practice areas have become very popular. And it also really eliminates any possibility to create the kind of state-of-the-art teaching academy that you would need that would help drive tourists and visitors to this golf course. So really, in our opinion, that 27-hole option really doesn't achieve what we think the mission should be for this golf course. Instead, we're proposing more of what we call an all-inclusive concept, really trying to create an experience to accommodate everyone. And that concept involves an 18-hole regulation course, a par 3 course, comprehensive practice facilities, and the Golf Academy Learning Center. So I'll just spend a little bit talking about each one of those. The 18-hole regulation course, there was a question earlier about how do you make it playable? How do you make it enjoyable? These would be some of the criteria we would use when we design that 18-hole course. First and foremost, playable and enjoyable. All skill levels, all ages, both genders. It's got to appeal and be enjoyable for everybody. It's got to be strategic, have some thinking involved. And what's the strategy for the hole? Diverse holes, shot options, multiple tees and yardages. This course we're showing could be set up to play anywhere from 4,700 yards to 6,850. So you might have 5 or 6 different sets of tee markers to accommodate all the different skill levels, the different ages within that yardage range. Careful use about where you place the hazards, both sand and water. Ample green sizes and reasonable contours, nothing that's too difficult, that's going to be hard for the average golfer to play. It's going to be time consuming. No forced carries, and by that we mean not having to hit over a bunker or the water to get to the green, always having an alternate route to get to the hole. Open green entrances where you always have an opportunity to roll the ball into the surface, kind of allowing the ground game to be played if that's the way the golfer chooses. And anything that promotes generally pace of play. People want to have the experience, but they want to have it quickly. And the design should also consider the ease and the cost of what should be high quality maintenance here. This is kind of the front 9 on the 18-hole golf course. This was the old South 9, which was the shortest and tightest of the original golf course. We've pretty much maintained the original routing, except we've tweaked the 7th and the 8th holes in order to make 8 a par 4 and achieve an overall par of 36 on this 9. We've also maintained or kept the existing golf maintenance area, which is not in an ideal location and it's difficult to get to, but there's really not a great place to locate it otherwise. And we feel in this concept, we can work around it. We might modify the shape and the perimeter of it. On the back 9, again, you've got more space here. This was the longest of the 3 9s. We've kept the same general corridors. Holes 10, 11, and 14 are identical, and then 12 through 17 follow the same corridor of the existing holes today, but they're slightly different holes. This pond in the middle here is actually an existing pond, and the other 2 have been added, much for the reasons that were explained earlier, and especially the water management issue. 18, really, with the practice fairway gone, there's a lot of flexibility to create all kinds of different holes with number 18. So we chose this concept for the plan, but there are options. Our par 3 course, again, we're capturing the players that aren't ready for the big 18 or don't want the big 18, or maybe they play it typically, but today they don't have time for that. So beginners, the juniors, the seniors, same quality as the regulation golf course, same construction, same materials, same expectations. We've set this up in a way where, with using alternate tees and even alternate hole locations within the 9 greens and the 9 holes, you could really have an 18-hole experience. If somebody wanted to play this twice, they could play the red 9 first and the yellow 9 second and enjoy an 18-hole different experience. Perfect for family golf. This has become very popular even at a lot of private clubs. Great way to get everybody out together. And this kind of facility will also support the golf academy at different times during the year. This will also, by providing a facility and attracting people who might not otherwise come to the project because you have this to offer them, it's going to translate into more revenue in the not only the golf operation, but potentially the hotel operation and definitely the food and beverage with the clubhouse. Practice facility. This would be actually more of the public end of the practice facility. The range is long and it's wide and it's shared on one end by the academy and one by the public practice area, which is this end. Expansive natural turf areas, which is number E, letter E there. An artificial turf behind it, which is D. A short game area, designated short game area for practicing bunker shots, chipping, pitching. Could also be used for lessons. If you desire, there's space for an indoor facility that could handle not only a food and beverage component, but also a teaching area, a club fitting area, golf simulators. People come and play the golf simulators. So this also has a great support element for the junior golf program. And it supports local clinics and leagues, which are two of the things that the National Golf Foundation had pointed out in your study. The other end of the range is more of the private golf academy and the learning center. Plenty of space for a lot of different features there. This is actually a picture of the learning center at our golf course at Reynolds Plantation. And actually on the end there, they had to add on to it because it became so popular that they needed more space, more hitting bays. This is set up so that there's multiple and diverse stations for the school to rotate groups through. Some are chipping, some are putting, some are doing sand shots, so all kinds of flexibility in these types of facilities. Example of the indoor hitting bays and how they open out onto the range so that during swing analysis, video swing analysis, or lessons, you have the ability to hit whatever shot you need out onto the main range. Again, supports junior golf. And this will actually be a facility that, if done properly and high end, could attract people to your hotel for a 2 or 3 day golf school type experience. So we feel like this plan is a much better approach. It's more all-inclusive. It develops the types of facilities that will attract the broadest group of players to your project. One other note I wanted to mention was the central golf maintenance is here right now, kind of isolated on one side of the property, which, as I understand it, then means they actually have to traffic equipment daily across here and up to these facilities. One thing that you might consider in a redesign is trying to develop some type of a satellite facility where you could keep a lot of the day-to-day equipment that's required to maintain golf on the, I guess that's the eastern side of the property. Save the time, save the wear and tear on the equipment so that you're not constantly trafficking back and forth. And this is not a bad location in terms of how it relates to the railroad that's behind it. It's much more appealing than where you're right out by the homes there. So a little bit about the schedule. We felt like, if you're able to award the contract relatively soon this year, that there's enough time between March and being able to open the golf course at the end of 2019, maybe in December. Things would have to go well, but it's possible to do that. That's it. I don't know how we did time-wise, but we're doing all right.
Great job.
Okay, so if you have any questions, we'll try to answer them for you.
No, it was a great presentation. I love the fact that you included that family-friendly area where families can come in and play. I think that's a really important aspect of the course. So I'm really glad that was included.
You know, the way these are set up, I mean, this could be really kind of any type of golf. We just felt like that approach and the ability to create the flexibility with 9 short holes.
Time-wise, seems
Yeah.
great.
But still, it's a time savings, but it's still a different experience. And
Right.
somebody, it's never gonna get old. Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with a entity called Top Golf? They have these big facilities.
Yes.
And that seems to be a unique trend on things. I'm not sure that fits here at all, but
I'm not
what's your
sure.
perspective on that relative? Because it would be, you know, we compete with that if you're.
You wanna say
looking for
something?
golfers.
Well, Top Golf is unique.
Yep.
I mean, it's basically a party.
Mhm.
And, but it is getting people into the game. But most of the people that go to Top Golf really don't go there.
The golf.
Right.
So it's a moneymaker, it's a bonanza. Callaway Golf has invested in it.
Yeah.
And it's been very successful. And there is some thought, especially from the PGA show last week, that the top golfers are gonna end up playing here too, eventually.
Okay.
Greg, question for you. As far as the day-to-day presence on the course and the course of development and the permitting process, is that something that you help us through and you monitor when we obtain a contractor to do the job you're engaged there?
Right. I talked a little bit about kind of our overall philosophy since we started. It's been kind of a lower volume, more hands-on, and that's the way. And as the lead consultant, we really have to do that. I mean, we're gonna have a lot of local support here, and Rob's gonna handle the permitting effort for us. When the golf course starts into construction, yes, we will have to be here for you. And that's, you know, Rees is right down the road, so he'll be here all the time, really.
And we're doing the Breakers Ocean Course over this summer, and we're doing Allen House next year, and then we're doing Shadowwood and the Naples, Fort Myers area this summer. We did the North Coast last year, so we're working here right now.
As far as the stakeholders, we have a very active golfing community at the municipal course, and of course you have 2 universities here in town also that we can draw expertise from. How do you handle community involvement in their participation in the design?
Yeah, well, certainly we would welcome that. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a facility that they're gonna live with, and they have to enjoy it. They have to wanna be here. So to the extent that we can accommodate and the suggestions they're making are valid, then we would try to work to incorporate them. I think the other part about you mentioned the golf teams, that academy part really plays into the golf teams as well, in terms of giving them really high-tech, all-inclusive facilities in more of a little secluded setting.
And we did the work for Duke and we did the work for Georgia Tech, and we got those coaches and those managers involved in all our practice facilities. So if that were the case, then some of the golf teams were going to be playing here, we would talk to their coaches to see exactly what they thought would be positive for their team.
When we did City Park, we had all kinds of public meetings, Bayou Oaks, I still call it City Park, it's in City Park in New Orleans, but all kinds of public meetings, public input, some really good suggestions too. So every project we're involved with, there's some degree of input from either the club and the members, not just the board, or if it's public, from the public itself.
With the concept of the 18 holes and then the east side being more learning, what are the chances we could get some kind of a major championship type of tournament at this course?
Well, I don't think we're ever gonna have the length on this golf course to really have a major tournament. But I think you could probably have local and state, regional events on this type of golf course. If we design it for that as an expressed objective, we can do that.
Just keep it easy for me.
Well, that's the trick, right? And we've gotten pretty good at that over the years, so.
You could have a state open here, but we really want to design this for the community residents, and you don't build a church for Easter Sunday.
Very well.
One of the things I've heard commented from some golfers is, and I'm probably one of those, is the sand traps. Can be placed in the most difficult positions, but I always find them easy to hit and hard to get out of. It
Right.
slows down the pace of play.
Sure.
So, And I've heard of, hard pack sand traps, which I think are even more difficult for me to get out of than the fluffy sand. But the pace of play is important when you're working on a play course. So, are there any, issues regarding what kind of landscaping put in there that would slow things down, or you're all about keeping the play moving?
We're totally about keeping the play moving, and we don't want to over penalize a shot, especially if the shot wasn't missed that badly. But around green complexes, for example, we always try to provide one side of the complex that you can bail out on. We might have a hazard on the left, but you'll have fairway or low cut rough on the right. So we're not, and by not having the forced carries and having the open entrances, we're trying to make it as playable and accessible as we can.
And what's happening in golf course architecture today is that there was a period where the bunkers were massive in size, and especially in Florida, because what really makes the Florida golf course sort of pop at is the flutter and the size of the bunkers. I think that era is over. Where bunkers are going to be like Donald Ross designed them, located appropriately, a lot of chipping areas, a lot of slopes to protect the green, but not as much sand.
And that goes to cost as much as playability. Just the bunkers have become the most expensive thing to maintain on the golf course. So the less sand you have, if it's properly placed and functional, you don't need a lot of the excess.
What type of layouts do you have for the greens themselves there? Some courses it's like playing goofy golf,
Right.
the rolling and challenging. I mean, I like them all to funnel right down to the pin.
Right. No, I mentioned that I think on all of our courses, but I think especially with this, we want to have reasonable contours. Nothing that's too severe, nothing that's going to repel a shot. If you hit the green, you've done your job. We want to hold you there and reward you for that. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to be benign in tabletops either, because golfers want a reasonable challenge. They don't want it to be too, even golfers that aren't very good, like me, they want a reasonable challenge, and they expect that. So the greens are a tricky thing, but we know how to do
In
that.
Shadowwood, we increase the contours slightly, but we make the transitions gentle, so they're not these cookie cutter or severe slopes in the greens, because that's what kills you. Because you want to have some decent speeds on the greens, and so I think the modern approach is contours that break and change from every angle on the green, so you have a different experience, but nothing that's too severe.
After I get lucky to hit the green, I don't want to roll off. Anybody else?
All right.
Thank you
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for your presentation.